Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma LaFave, and today I am celebrating my 500th YouTube video. So for today's video, I thought I'd do a little, voiceover of just me painting for the first time, might I add, since the birth of my second son, Miles. As I'm painting this, he is currently in his little dock-a-tot on the floor beside me, sleeping. And just in time, this video was about 13 minutes long and he slept for exactly that and then decided to wake up. But as I am doing the voiceover, I thought I would kind of talk about my journey on YouTube, how I got started, and how this channel all came to be. So let's jump right in and start. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So some of you may already know my story. I have told it in previous videos before, but this all started with trying to help my mental health. And it started back in 2016. I didn't do a YouTube video yet or anything, but I had been going through a really rough time with my mental health. I was very depressed, very anxious. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see people. I had a really hard time with social events and just seeing people. I ended up losing some friends because of it. Ended up gaining some better friends because they were better at understanding what I was going through. But it was just a really rough time. And one day in May, and if you scroll all the way back to the beginning of my Instagram, you will see the first day that I picked up some watercolors. And what I did was I decided to walk to Michael's. There was a Michael's down the street from my house, and I picked up this super cheap Artist Loft palette of watercolors, like the cakey, chalky watercolors that are for kids. I had some dollar store brushes, an Artist Loft palette or paper, and I went home and I put on some Billie Holiday and I decided to paint some flowers that I had on my table. And that is how it all started. I, made myself a coffee and just decided to unwind. And art is always something I've loved, but I lost it for a very long time. Some of you may know I was a kindergarten teacher before all this, and I always enjoyed doing art with my kids and, bulletin boards and stuff like that. So I kept up with that in that sense, but it wasn't a part of my life, something I just did for me like I used to in high school or when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to go home and draw every day. It wasn't the greatest, but I did it and I loved it. So I hadn't picked up a paintbrush in a very long time. And that day I decided to do it. And then I realized how much I loved it. And I started to look up other watercolor artists on Instagram. And, there were short 15-second videos at that point. And I just kind of fell in love looking at that, and also with calligraphy. I think that also really got me started. So I started just painting some flowers, and then I started doing these watercolor backgrounds and writing positive quotes over top with really awful calligraphy, like really awful. But it became something that I started to really enjoy, and eventually became something that I was itching to do when I got home from work. It was just such a great way to unwind, and it was starting to help with my mental health. And one day I found an artist on Instagram, Stephanie Fehrenbach, and then another calligraphy artist who is known as the Happy Ever Crafter, Becca Cordes, and they were doing a watercolor and calligraphy workshop in Toronto that summer, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And this is something that used to give me major anxiety, to go somewhere, try something new with people I didn't know. I was one of the shyest people. I hated I hated going anywhere where I didn't know people. That was a big thing for me. But I decided, you know what, this could be something really good for me, and I did it. And it completely changed my life. And I was really into calligraphy at the time of signing up, but when I left that course, it was like a full day thing. I fell in love with watercolor, absolutely fell in love. And it was just the most incredible feeling walking out of there. It was such an incredible workshop, and it's something that I personally want to do, hopefully in the near future when I can figure out managing these two kids, because it really did change my life. And so I went to this workshop and I learned more about better quality materials. We were given the Winsor Newton COTMAN tubes and a palette, and I learned about Arches paper. And so right after that, I went and I got a couple more colors of COTMAN colors, and I got some Arches paper, and I went home and I just continued to paint. And I feel like I did that every day for years leading up, like after that. So I just kept going. And then there was another workshop by Stephanie that I did in January, I think, of the next year. And that just, increased my love for it. And then once I got better, and believe me, I was not very good at the beginning, I got better. I decided that I wanted to combine my teaching, because I was a teacher at the time. I love teaching. I love kind of breaking down things for people to understand a little bit better. And the teachers I had were great. Stephanie was an amazing teacher, but it was something that I wanted to do. So I decided to create my own YouTube channel just for fun. It was honestly just something to play around with. My husband at the time, my husband, who is now my husband, obviously. I've only had one husband. I don't know what I'm talking about. At the time, he was, he represented YouTubers. So he kind of understood the whole way that YouTube worked and got me set up with my phone as my camera. And that is something I used for the longest time. Filming for my YouTube channel, and just basically told me how to upload videos. And I made my first YouTube video in 2017, and it wasn't meant to go anywhere. It was just something for fun, and it didn't for a while. I think I did a couple YouTube videos. You can look back at my oldest stuff, but then eventually by 2019, I think it was, one of my first YouTube videos kind of blew up, and it was just like simple florals, and it ended up getting like 100,000 views or something like that. And my husband had set me up with the AdSense, which is how you make money off of YouTube. And he had a YouTube channel at the time, or previously to that, and he thought he was still getting money from his YouTube channel before. And then he looked at it and he goes, "Oh my gosh, Emma, like, you're making money from YouTube." He's like, "You should do this. You should make more videos, and you can, maybe make something out of this." And so it was in 2019, I think it was February, where I decided to do a 3 video a week schedule. So February 2019. I did my first video in 2017. It took a couple years for things to actually escalate and go places. And that was with really not trying. I was just doing it for fun, and I wasn't posting regularly. But yeah, so he just told me, like, just try a 3 video a week schedule and see where it can go. And it took off. And it was unexpected, and I was still working. I was pregnant with Noah at the time, and I was just doing videos here and there, and it just exploded. But what I want to stress is that it took me a while to get there. You know what I mean? And I didn't have high expectations at the time. And so I think that's why or how it became like a pleasant surprise that this actually went somewhere. And then once it did, I started to work my butt off. And then once I had Noah, I had already had an idea that I didn't want to go back to work. For me, it just didn't make sense, paying for daycare, and then with the salary I was making, having another ECE look after my son, where I'm an ECE looking after other people's kids. It just didn't make sense for me, and we were in a position where I could be a stay-at-home mom. So I decided to do that anyway. But once I did, I used all of my son's nap times to film videos, and it really helped because my channel blew up, and I was able to make a profit, like a living off of this. And like I said, it was not expected, but it happened. So that's kind of how it happened. And and I'm still kind of shocked that this is my life. It's been 5 years and 500 videos. I still can't believe there's that many videos on my channel. It doesn't feel like there is, but there is. A lot of hard work went into this channel, and it's also something I love. It's also something that's very tough to do, because I basically turned my passion into my career. And I'm so incredibly grateful, but it's also extremely difficult at times because, like I've said before, you know, I'm not always in the mood to paint or create content, and it can be very, very hard when you're on a schedule and you are your own boss. So while I'm incredibly grateful, it can also be very difficult. So if this is something you're considering, just keep that in mind, because you are turning something that you love into a job, and that can be a little bit hard. But this is also one of the biggest blessings of my life, that I get to do this for a job. It is absolutely incredible, and I am so thankful, because not only do I get to paint for a living, I get to connect with people from all over the world, and it's amazing, and I really wouldn't give this up for anything else. So that's kind of my story. I hope that made sense. I'm running off very, very little sleep right now, but I kind of wanted to give you, you know, just a little insight into how this all went down for my 500th video. And yeah, so here's the painting of an iris that I did, the first painting I've done since I've had my son. Something I desperately needed to do. Desperately, I've been itching to get back and paint, and hopefully I can find some time to do that a bit more. But yeah, that's it. 500 videos in 5 years. And lastly, I just want to thank you guys, because this channel would be nothing without you if you guys weren't watching and supporting me. And the support I get from you guys is incredible. Like, this community that we've built is just amazing, and I am so grateful every day for every single one of you. And I try and look at all the comments as often as I can and respond when I can. But the connections that I've made with all of you has been amazing, and I'm so incredibly thankful. So that's about it, and I hope you guys enjoyed my story and this painting, and I will see you hopefully very soon in the next video. Bye, guys.